Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. Today we will see how to configure the VMware vSAN on the vSphere 7 cluster. Let's get started. This is my main system on which I have created the vSphere 7 home lab on the VMware Workstation. You can refer to this video on how to create the vSphere 7 home lab on the VMware Workstation. The link of this video I will provide you in the description. This is my Active Directory server and this is my first ESXi, which is having the IP address 192.168.0.131 and the version is ESXi 7.0.3. If I go to setting of this virtual machine, it is having 8 GB RAM, 3 vCPU and one hard disk in which we have ESXi installed, and the second data store I have also mapped on this host, which is the local data store, and in this data store I am having the one virtual machine which is in powered off state. This is my second ESXi host having the IP address 192.168.0.132 and it is also having the ESXi version 7.0.3, and this is my vSphere 7 vCenter 7.0.3 and the IP address of the vCenter is 192.168.0.133. This vCenter I have directly installed on this on the VMware Workstation. You can click on I button on the top and go to the video which explains in detail how to install the vCenter server directly on the VMware Workstation. And this is my third ESXi host installed on the VMware Workstation on another system in my LAN. If I go to setting of this host, it is having 8 GB RAM, 3 vCPU and single hard disk in which we have the ESXi installed. For the second host also I am having the 8 GB RAM, 3 vCPU and one hard disk in which we have ESXi installed. And through this base machine I am able to resolve the host names of the host and vCenter because in the network adapter I have given the IP address of the Active Directory domain controller as the primary DNS. You can see here 192.168.0.128, which is the IP address of this Active Directory domain controller. And I have also taken the snapshot of each virtual machine before starting the configuration. If you are also trying this home lab on VMware Workstation, it is highly recommended to take the snapshot before you proceed. Now on all the 3 ESXi hosts, we will add 40 GB for the capacity tier and 20 GB for the cache tier. On all 3 hosts, I will go to first host, I will power it off, I will go to edit setting, add hard disk, next SATA, next new virtual disk, next 40 GB storage single file, next finish. I will again go to add, next, and NVMe, next, create new disk, next 20 GB storage single file, next, finish. OK. I will power it on, I will go to second host, I will make it shut down. I'll go to edit setting. This is the 60 GB in which we have our ESXi installed. I'll go to add hard disk, next SATA, next create new virtual disk, next 40 GB storage single file, next, finish. Add hard disk, next, NVMe, next, create new virtual disk, next, 20 GB storage single file, next, finish. OK. This 40 GB SATA HDD is for capacity tier and this flash is for cache tier, which is the 20 GB. I will power it on. I will go to third host. I will make it shut down. F2. I will go to edit setting. The existing hard disk is for 60 GB is for ESXi. I will go to add hard disk, next, SATA, next, create new virtual disk, next 40 GB store as single file, next finish. This 40 GB SATA HDD is for capacity tier. Add hard disk, next NVMe, next create new virtual disk, next 20 GB storage single file, next finish. This 20 GB flash is for cache tier. Okay, I will power it on. So I have logged into my vCenter server. This is my vCenter, this is the data center, and this is my cluster, and these are all three my ESXi hosts which are added to this cluster. And this is the Windows 10 virtual machine which is powered off, and it is residing on this local data store which is mapped on host 131. So I will select my cluster. I will go to first host. I will go to configure, VM kernel adapter, add networking, VM kernel network adapter, next new standard switch, next I will click here on plus sign, and this is the physical NIC of my host. I will click OK. I will click next. I will give the name vSAN, and I will tick here vSAN. Next. Use static IPv4 setting. I will give here the IP address 192.168.0.161.255.255.255.0. Next, finish. So the VM kernel adapter for the vSAN traffic has been created. If I go to edit, you can see here vSAN is selected. And we have created one new virtual switch during this creation of VM kernel, and the new virtual switch name is vSwitch 1, and we are having vSwitch 0 also previously, to which VM kernel adapter VMK0 is connected. If I go to edit, management is selected, means this VM kernel adapter is carrying the management traffic. If I go to virtual switch, you can see here vSwitch 0, having the physical adapter VMNIC 0 connected, and the second vSwitch, which is vSwitch 1, which we have just now created, is having the second physical adapter connected, VMNIC 1. Likewise, I will go to second host and I will go to VM kernel adapter, add networking, VM kernel adapter, next, new standard switch, next. I will click on plus sign. I will select the VMNIC 1, which is the second physical adapter of my host. I will click OK. Next, I will give the name here vSAN. I will select the vSAN here also. Next, use static IP address 192.168.0.162, subnet mask 255.255.255.0. Next, finish. I will go to third host. I will go to configure VM kernel adapter, add networking, VM kernel network adapter, next, new standard switch, next. I will click on plus sign. I will select the second physical adapter of my host, which is VMNIC 1. OK. Next, I will give the name vSAN and here I will select vSAN. Next, static IP address 192.168.0.163, subnet mask 255.255.255.0. Next, finish. So here we have configured the networking for the networking on our host for the vSAN configuration. Okay, now to configure the vSAN on my cluster, on the left side I will select my cluster and here I will click on configure. Here I will go to vSAN services. I will click here configure vSAN. And I will select this option, single site cluster with custom fault domains. Next, these are all the services which we can enable. As of now, I will not enable any of the service here. Next, here I will select the host in the drop down and this is my first host 131. So the 40 GB is HDD and I will claim this HDD as capacity tier and the 20 GB is flash. I will claim this as the cache tier. For the second host 132 also I will claim the 40 GB HDD as capacity tier and 20 GB flash as cache tier. On the third host also actually I'm having my lab on the SSD, so it is showing as both the flash. So this 40 GB I will mark as HDD and I will claim it as capacity tier and 20 GB flash I will claim as cache tier. Okay, I will now click on next. So here in the fault domain option, I will click on add. I will give the name rack1. I will select the first host. Okay, I will again go to add. I will give the name rack2. I will select second host. Okay, I will again go to add. I will give the name rack3. I will select the third host. Okay, so for 3 hosts we have created 3 fault domains. I will now click next. If you are happy with all the settings, press finish. It will take time to configure all the services. So here in task panel, all the task has been completed. If I go to menu, tasks, next page, so update vSAN configuration on all 3 hosts has been completed, and also the task on the cluster also completed. Create this group has been completed on all 3 hosts. Add this to vSAN cluster also completed on all 3 hosts. So that's great. All the tasks related to our vSAN configuration has been completed on the cluster. I will go to inventory. I will select the cluster. I will go to configure vSAN disk management. So you can see here 3 host cluster is there, and disk is showing healthy for all three hosts. These are the 3 fault domains which we have configured. We can add host to each fault domain. We can add new fault domain also. In 3 fault domains we have single host. If I go to data store, this is the vSAN data store. Under monitor, I can see here the capacity. Total is 79.98 GB, and this is the free space. This is the total usage graph. That's great. So here our configuration of vSAN has been completed. And we have validated the configurations also. If I go to data stores, vSAN data store, and configure, you can see here default storage policy applied to our vSAN data store is vSAN default storage policy. If I go to options, policies and profiles, and I have selected the vSAN default storage policy. If I go to edit, next, you can see here compatible storage is showing none, and under the incompatible our vSAN data store is showing, which means our vSAN data store is not compatible as of now to the default storage policy. So what will happen due to this, I will show you. If I go to inventory and if I try to migrate this Windows 10 virtual machine to the vSAN data store, I will not be able to do so. I am getting the error because as of now our storage vSAN data store is not compatible with the applied policy. So to resolve this issue, I will go to menu, policies and profiles, VM storage policies, and I have selected the vSAN default storage policy. I will go to edit, next. Here you can see fault to tolerate. It is showing as red one mirroring, which is not possible in our case because we have single host in each fault domain and it is our lab environment. So I will go to drop down and I will select this no data redundancy here. Next, finish. If I again go to vSAN default storage policy, edit, next, now you can see vSAN data store is showing as compatible. Now I will again go back to inventory. I will right click on powered off Windows 10 virtual machine, migrate, change storage only, next. I will select the vSAN data store, next, finish. So task is completed. Our virtual machine, powered off virtual machine, has been migrated to vSAN data store. In production environment, you can migrate this live virtual machine also without any downtime. If I go to setting of the virtual machine, hard disk, you can see here disk is residing on the vSAN data store, which means virtual machine has been migrated from the local data store to vSAN data store. By this way, you can configure the VMware vSAN and get your vSAN cluster ready. Lot of efforts went to prepare this video, so do subscribe to my channel to encourage my work. Like the video, share it with the friends and spread the knowledge. I will see you in the next video. Thank you.